picks and bans here for game number 2. eUnited now have the first selection. We'll see if they decide to go in the same way. As Taco said, Freya was first of all overall picked here for Pittsburgh Knights, and eUnited responded with something for the solo lane. So eUnited are going to ban out the Freya right away. They said, listen, if that's what you're going to first pick, we're going to strip it.
It is not surprising either. That banish, I think, just causing way too many issues in the fights that I think eUnited were having the possibility of turning them into their favor.
Yeah.
One banish was just able to slow down the process enough for Pittsburgh Knights to typically escape. Also, I don't really see emilitoooooo as wanting to, be a first pick Freya main here. I think that he's always been a little bit more suited towards the gods like Kronos and the Jing
Sure.
ways. I think that eUnited are probably just going to try to hold fast on that hunter pick for a bit. And with that Shibalanke being taken out, I'm actually a bit surprised that Shabal would still be the focus here for eUnited, but I'd have to assume that this could be an opportunity for eUnited to look for that Achilles that Pittsburgh Knights made sure to strip out in the first 2 bans of the last game.
I got to agree, especially after you look at what eUnited was able to do last time around and sort of dance with Pittsburgh Knights. I think if you enable Benji, he can be one of the players that can really drive this team forward. So we see the King Arthur ban, both Bologna and the Achilles are available, and I think this next pick will be really telling if it is a solo laner, and it will be the Achilles into the hands of Benji.
No hesitation from eUnited. They knew what they wanted and they got it, but that does mean Deathwalker could choose to respond with the Bologna, or he could try to run it back with the Osiris. He looked pretty damn good on the Osiris, and Osiris can still fare reasonably well against the Achilles, still upholds, I think, that aggression as well from the soul lane, and indeed, it will be Osiris one more time for DW.
Interesting look for sure. Would have almost thought, the Bologna is very strong, and what Osiris did to win that game, that 4-man ult, that's tough to do with the Osiris. The Bologna has a little bit more give and take, but the Osiris Judgment Tether is really strong, and 16% mitigation is really strong, so Osiris will show up one more time.
Really like the fact that Pittsburgh Knights also picked up that Jing wave, though. It's just mentioning how emilitoooooo is definitely someone who has a tendency to favor the Jing. So for Vote to now have it, he gets a great survivability option away from this Achilles. Benji is going to have a more difficult time looking to harass this carry, because if Benji invests too much on the Achilles into the backline of Pittsburgh Knights, I think Deathwalker on this Osiris and Pittsburgh Knights as a whole are a strong enough team that they'll probably just peel off and look to save Vote.
Exactly, and I think that's a strong part of what allows this team to be so successful as they take game number 1 in our 5-game set. eUnited giving a thought to the Dwarf Man. Fafnir has been a go-to for Kalas.
eUnited are just trying to scoop up everything Pittsburgh Knights was banning away from them in game 1.
Yeah.
And this is, if it is a Fafnir, then I would like to see something aggressive from Emil as opposed to the Kronos. If he chooses to run back the Kronos, I mean, it's not that it's a bad take by any means, but I feel as though, Chernobog's perfect here. I think having that global aspect to introduce into the team fights could make things a lot more problematic for Pittsburgh Knights as far as trying to keep Deathwalker alive on the opposite side of the map and such.
I agree. Allowing Emil to make it to every single fight, no matter what, is going to be a big deal. So the Dark Hunter will show up. eUnited, the first half of their draft finished and complete. Achilles, Fafnir, Chernobog, 2 of the characters were banned away from them last time around. So a nice look there. eUnited getting what they want. On the other side, Pittsburgh Knights, we've got Osiris. Arguably won the game for them last time around. And Jingwei, just an all-around safe hunter. Right now, I guess they could be thinking about taking that Yorm, because if I'm eUnited, I'm probably banning Yorm here. And Pittsburgh Knights selecting Terra means that I think Pittsburgh Knights are planning not to play Yorm and Gun to mid, just from this point on, because if I'm eUnited, I'm definitely banning it.
eUnited could look to ban the Dorm, but I think you're right. I don't think that Pittsburgh Knights are looking to try and run back the Dorming Hunter. I wouldn't be surprised if eUnited chose not to ban the Dorm, period. I think that right now, Achilles, Fafnir, and Chernobog already have a lot more kill potential than in the previous match against that Jormungandr, but eUnited aren't looking to take any chances. May as well eliminate an option.
I think you're absolutely right. eUnited are better equipped to deal with the Jormungandr this time around, but they still just don't want to. It's a zero special at the moment, and when you play against character specialists, and perhaps a shout out to the FGC players out there, when you play against character specialists that nobody else in the scene really plays, it's so much different homework, so much different strategy. We all know what Yorm does, but Zeros, Yorm mid, you got to watch the tape back a second time. So ban it out this time. Go watch game number 1 later on and see how you can react against it. It's not that it's unbeatable, it's unfamiliar.
Well, with Predatosker being taken away, Pittsburgh Knights are going to lock in that Hubwa, but this is still fairly ambiguous as to whether or not Adapting could be trying to run the jungle hero.
We've seen it a decent amount out of Adapting, and historically I've always, it's annoying because I've been a fan of Jungle Hebo for a long time. I think this character has a lot of assassin potential, and every time Adapting brought it out historically, up until recent years, he wasn't very good at it, if I speak plainly. But the past few weeks here in Season 6, his Hebo has looked a lot better than it has in the past, and I think Hebo's an important pick to have in your arsenal if you're a jungler right now. I think it fits in well with what Pittsburgh Knights have drafted so far, and I think this is a great look.
I just really like the frontline setup, though. Terra and Hubwa can be such a potent wombo combo. You land the root, you land the wall stun. Either way, Hubwa is usually guaranteed the water spout knock-up immediately into the crushing wave, and just in case you didn't do enough damage with the first 3,000, you still have another 1k coming out of the glass, out of the water hands.
I actually saw a really interesting interaction, which is probably not something you're shooting for every time, but Hebo, they isolated one individual in the wall stun, and so when Hebo ulted, it was cut short. He didn't find himself behind enemy lines because his own Terra's wall was there protecting him. It was kind of cute. Probably hard to set up, but always something to think about.
But again, this is all just a possibility. It doesn't seem as though Jungle Hubwa is going to be the intent here from Pittsburgh Knights. If this is a Hubwa versus Zeus situation, though, BigManTingz is definitely going to have to watch his own back for this early game. You can maybe get a little bit of an advantage at Zeus levels 1 through 4, depending on the fact. Well, I guess it's the fact that both of these junglers might have a little bit lower pressure if it is a Kali for Pittsburgh Knights. I think that Zeus and Hubwa could possibly find some opportunities to aggress into each other, but Zero's kind of just bamboozled us all at the end.
Or maybe it's the Janus Jungle. I don't know about that.
I'd much rather see Adapting on the Hubwa than the Janus.
I agree. Worth noting, Zero started his career in the jungle. Did play the Janus jungle. Switched to mid a couple of weeks after that. The Zeus Hood and Batz here for eUnited is going to be a big central point of their team fight. Zeus is going to be looking to cause a lot of problems and a lot of damage, and of course peel for himself if need be. And Hood and Batz is the counter initiation, I think.
Well, I'm definitely excited to see who gets the better end of the global trade, because Chernobog, Janus, who gets there first?
Let's check it out. eUnited and Pittsburgh Knights, game number 2, Hindu and Aggro. Take us away.
Thanks so much, Tom and Taco. Yeah, I was actually excited about maybe 2 glass cannons in the mid lane of Hebo versus Zeus, which is an old throwback for most. But Tom bringing up a throwback too about the Janus situation, no real surprise that's going to go to Zyrhoes.
No, Zyrhoes is one of the premier Janus players in the league. There's no doubt about it. I've been surprised that he's been so hesitant to pull it out, but I really like it here, especially against a team fight composition like eUnited, trying to stand 5-on-5 and just kind of, revolutionary war run at each other from opposite sides of the field. You're going to lose that if you're Pittsburgh Knights. There's no way you have better value than Fear No Evil and Lightning Storm and the Fafnir Coerce. I mean, Terra's ultimate does a lot for you, but it just won't be enough. So I like the idea of being more mobile, moving us around, trying to be a little bit more unpredictable.
Vote at the start of this game, not going for a Hunter's Blessing here, going to rush those Devourer's Gauntlets a little bit earlier on. We'll see how that pays off for him against this matchup against Emilito. Do you reckon we'll see any support pressure there this time around? It doesn't look like the case at the beginning here.
No, I think that this time around with the regular Hunters there, it might just be the Hunters standing alone. Fafnir has been one that we've seen quite a bit of start in the duo lane, that is the solo lane.
Something is going on here, though. Benji and Callus making a rotation through the jungle. A pairing you wouldn't have expected unless Season 6 began, to be fair. of this European and North American who have both been touted as great players in their roles. They're looking to cause some problems for adapting early. Zyrhoes is here, but the collapse, the pincer maneuver, and eUnited are out of position.
This is a great opportunity as well because Deathwalker is Osiris at level 1. Very hard to get away from this. Kalas does have Shell, but the consistent slows, man. Benji's dead to rights, and now Kalas might be as well.
Well, at the moment, it's 400 gold into the bank for Pittsburgh Knights, and it goes to EmilZy, which that could help out at this stage of the game for a support player now. But the lack of experience is something that's going to be telling off that 4-man gank, technically, or counter-invade strategy.
And it's much better for Benji to die than Kalas because he has teleport, so he's back already. Now he's going to immediately start losing a trade again. This is why I think Pittsburgh Knights are valuing Osiris so highly, because he fights beautifully here.
But iceicebaby has rotated, and he is at level 2, and EmilZy has been off a bit more than he can chew. Has Shell available still. Don't think it's really worth investing here. He will go down unless he wants to try and waste a bit more time.
Yeah, he's just trying to pull ice as far away from farm as possible and waste as much time as he possibly can. Eventually, he will fall, but that was, what, an extra 6-7 seconds that he wasted?
The funny thing is,
Baby's time.
If you're in a ranked game right now and you're voting emilitoooooo, you're like, what's going on? Like, we're on the first wave. Why are people dead already?
Relax, guys. Like, come on. We lost just immediately in the thought process. But here, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Overall, I think that eUnited turn out not quite as far behind as it looked like they may. It really is just in the solo lane that I'm worried.
Is that going to be a stone of foul for BigManTingz? That's the only thing I can think he's going to go for.
No, he's going to go Void Stone.
Really?
I think he's going to go Void Stone, yeah.
On Zeus?
I don't hate it.
I mean, so Void Stone, it gives you the aura, right?
Yeah.
But the aura is around you.
Yes.
And most of the time when you're Zeus, you're detonating people when they've run away from you.
Right, but Adapting's going to get close to him quickly
True.
a lot of the time. And if he just drops a Lightning Storm at his own feet, then he's getting the benefit from that Void Stone passive. Will let him stay longer in lane because one of the big things against Janus and Habois is that sometimes you just get poked out.
Yeah.
And you have to go back to base, who's very susceptible to that.
Well, that's why I brought up foul, because I was like, well, I guess they've got burst with Hebo, right? So having a stone of foul to try and reduce some of that damage may help, but I don't know if I still liked it there.
Yeah, I used to really like the old Stone of Fall, but I understand the change. Not many people were buying it, but I maintain that's because people weren't using their noodle, so to speak. It was really, really good against comps just like this.
Bit of aggression there onto Kalas with Zyrhoes and EmilZy combining. And iceicebaby going to go in the jungle and meet Adapting for the first time this game. Adapting down to half health with just a monkey toss and a basic. And that'll just show you the benefit of being an assassin versus a mage in the early game.
That's right. Your basic attacks hurt an awful lot more, and especially when you can auto-cancel them as well as iceicebaby was doing right there. That means 2 red buffs in a row go the way of eUnited instead of Pittsburgh Knights.
Right hand side, swoop, there it is, straight across from emilitoooooo. Hits level 5 and straight away tries to relieve some pressure onto Benji on this right hand side. So already, emilitoooooo using the Chernobog, more aggressive than we've seen in a while, to be fair.
We haven't seen that much Chernobog recently.
No.
I think Death Panther has been playing it a lot in the minor league.
Arca was the
for
last time I really saw it, and that was at Worlds.
Yeah, this is I think this pick is really undervalued right now.
I
It
agree.
feels pretty strong to me that
Oh, emilZy was in mid lane, backing around to the tower, forced to shell.
Did BigManTingz miss Chain Lightning there? I think he aimed for EmilZy instead of the shield. I just don't love him leading with
I just
Lightning
realized
Storm.
the one thing I do love about this is the fact that you are so into your Zeus.
I love
that
it.
every time there's a Zeus in the game, you remind me of like days go by, like, okay, well, you know, like this is how you should do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if he leads with his 2 and goes 2-1 and then drops Lightning Storm further away so that he has to walk into it longer, I'm pretty sure that's a kill. He may have hit Chain Lightning. I didn't see, but it looked to me like he missed.
Well, EmilZy going to find the route onto BigManTingz and return some of the damage back that he just received, and with Adapt in the background, BigManTingz is forced to Aegis there early on, but definitely a win in response for Pittsburgh Knights.
I mean, Aegis and Shell pulled out and no investment at all. Yeah, absolutely. Adapting can't afford to be that far in the enemy jungle, though, just because iceicebaby is there, and would take him a bit, but pretty sure he'd be able to chase down and kill Adapting.
And Adapting gone for the beads option here against the Fear No Evil on the jungle. No real surprise. iceicebaby back to the blink once more. He will be primary initiator for them, but I think the big telling feature is how this matchup we're looking at here will go. Deathwalker versus Benji again. Osiris versus Achilles this time. Deathwalker, though, seems to be a big fan of Osiris once more.
Again, I think a lot of it has to do with those level 1 and level 2 fights, where Osiris is incredibly strong. in those moments, but also just, I mean, the way he was able to control those late game fights, absolutely he's going to go back to it.
And emilZy's wall will buy enough time for Vote to pick up that red buff before iceicebaby gets there, but it does cost Vote his ultimate. Defensively used just to get away. Purple buff has spawn at the same time. So eUnited investing a little bit on the left-hand side and finding a little bit of result here.
Wonder if Vote is pleased with the trade that he just signed up for, getting red buff. Not the gold XP, because it's always worth your ultimate to secure a buff. It was already down. It was just picking up the red buff itself costs him his ultimate. Wonder if he's going to be able to put it to enough use to make it worth his while.
eUnited push forward looking for a gank on emilZy, but I think emilZy set up a trap because Adaptin is wrapping around the back. Zyrhoes, however, can't get there in time to help out emilZy, who falls down to iceicebaby as Adaptin does make it around the back. Doesn't pay off, however, and you can also see the ultimate just came out from emilito there for safekeeping more than anything else in case there was more aggression.
Just in case, and I've got no problem with that. I mean, that ultimate is on a pretty long cooldown, but it's still so impactful. I think the big thing that people forget about Chernobog ultimate is the fact that it globally slows. That's insane. That's so strong. And I do think that's a partial reason why Pittsburgh Knights may have valued this Hop-Wa, because it gives your whole team slow immunity.
That's true.
As long as they're on the Atlas of the Yellow River. So I like that counter pick option to counteract one of the more underlooked parts of a strong ultimate.
Blue buff invade from Pittsburgh Knights on the right-hand side again. This is where Adaptin has spent most of his time so far in the two games. iceicebaby doing his best on defending, gets some good damage off onto Deathwalker actually, and he's forced to ult defensively. But the invade works out for now in favor of the Pittsburgh Knights.
Yeah, trading your ultimate again. Anytime that you're going to trade an ultimate in order to secure a buff and live, that's worth your time. It is so much. It's so valuable to strip away that golden experience from them and gain it for yourself.
But then eUnited get a coup. So they got that going for them, right?
It's their first one so far. The coup control has been there for the Pittsburgh Knights, and I'm sure Zero is very pleased with that. This build that he's going for, this is going to be a Spear of Desolation. Next up, this is a build that gets you to max CDR super quickly because you can go Soul Gem right after this, and he's at 40% right away. Good power, good pen from the Spear of Desolation. My only thing with it is that it doesn't have a lot of inherent MP5, and Janus is a character that wants to use that mana really, really consistently, wants to spam those abilities, and so having coup control actually is very helpful to him.
It's the left-hand side vote. You're forced to use his ult defensively again as he getting engaged on, but eUnited now realizing there's a bit of a window here and attempting the Gold Fury. The Dancy Jukes of the Gold Fury there was eUnited's own fault, I think, which made it a bit tricky to kill. But by the time they did, Pittsburgh Knights had not even shown their face.
And this is where Zeus really excels, is that if you want to come in here, you can, but it's going to not be easy for you.
Adapting what's in the jungle, sees BigManTingz, changes his mind about frontlining there, realizing Callus was right behind. So yet again, eUnited find a bit of a victory where they actually have a gold lead still at this moment in time. It's around 700, and a lot of that really does come down to the Gold Fury.
Exactly where you want to be. And you want to bait the Pittsburgh Knights into these fights where they have to come in and 4-on-4 us, or 5-on-5 us, because as I mentioned, this composition for eUnited is so good in those sorts of moments. They do have to be worried about being in the jungle in general, because that's where their Hop-Wa can surprise you. Janus ultimate is going to cause a lot of problems, but overall, eUnited can take fights most of the time in the lane. The good thing is actually that their jungle fight is much better than I initially gave it credit for, because Zeus is the premier jungle fighter.
Well, Blue buff spawns on the eUnited side, and immediately Pittsburgh Knights try to turn up again and attack and steal it away. This time won't be successful because eUnited sent reinforcements to iceicebaby and Callus a little bit quicker on this rotation.
Blue buff control has been a huge part of this set so far, but this time eUnited doing a little bit better. This Achilles selection working better for Benji than the Bologna was. By this point, Deathwalker had started to gain control of this lane a little bit. In the early game, it was Benji's with the Bologna, and it has been a little bit with the Achilles as well, but this time it's being a little bit more even up to the mid-game.
But then eUnited get aggressive on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, in the jungle, also we've got a fight going on between iceicebaby at the moment. emilZy with the overhand smash will do good damage, but emilZy put the ult to the Fear No Evil. Swoop in from emilito with that Chernobog ultimate to close the gap. The walls will protect some of that damage from the basics coming out onto him. And immediately eUnited forced to fall back.
Good attempt there by iceicebaby, but just better play by emilZy. I mean, he trades his ultimate for that of Terra, and that's usually a win because that Earth and Fury is such a long cooldown, but in this instance, I think that emilZy ends up on top because he forces iceicebaby back to base and gets emilito's ultimate to try and kill him as well. He's able to survive both with some cheeky little wall plays.
Hammer onto Adapting. He's forced to beads as round the corner comes iceicebaby. Ult down, but he walks straight into BigManTingz. Throws the shield down and a nice pickup from the over-aggressive Adapting. The rest of his team weren't really nearby. Just a little bit too far forward there with his team basing.
Yeah, especially on Habwa. I mean, one of the big things that I think is underlooked is the lack of movement speed for non-assassins. I think that actually ends up being a big deal.
You saw Zyrhoes use the space and time there. I think they thought for a second there might be a cheeky attempt at the fire giant at 10 minutes. I was like, at least the positioning gave that sort of idea away there from the Pittsburgh Knights. But eUnited continued to win the objective trades overall with the Gold Fury, with the Pyromancer going down, and consistent invades towards this purple and red on the left-hand side.
Man, it isn't Spear of Desolation for Zyrhoes, it's Divine Ruin. And I really don't like it at all. I mean, Janus is so poor at applying Divine Ruin consistently on the right target, reapplying it. You're only applying it ever with your 2. I just don't like it.
Fear no evil into Deathwalker. Deathwalker still has his ultimate available. May need it soon as Benji's continuously poking under the tower. Just dropped an execute range for a second there, but has some health potions ticking away, as well as obviously the Warriors Blessing and Gladiators too, as eUnited fall back to get their second Tomaku of the game.
And he doesn't even need the anti-heal. Man, I hate it. I
You
hate
really
it so much.
You're so against Divine Ruins, you.
No,
Is it just basically dependent on the god? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
it's
saying?
exactly. It depends on the god and it depends on the comp. I mean, second item Divine Ruin is right far more often than a lot of people build it. But here, I just think it's poor choice for 2 reasons. Because the god is not good at applying it. I try and avoid picking Janus against compositions where I'm going to need an anti-heal ever because I think he's so bad at it. And you don't even need it. I mean, what is he stopping? The healing from Benji? The lifesteal from emilitoooooo?
It's got a good flat pen on it too, though.
Sure, but it's got, I mean, you look at Spear of Desolation, it's way more power, it's about the same amount of pen, it is more expensive, sure, but the CDR is phenomenal on Janus, you want it all the time. It's a little bit slower, sure, but again, you kind of want it. Zyrhoes is just like, and now he's going for Soul Reaver. Zyrhoes is building cooldown boots into Divine Ruin into Soul Reaver, regardless of the composition he's playing or the composition he's playing against. And I just think that in MOBAs, you need to be flexible. He seems pretty inflexible right now.
Is SMITE still not to do with the power spikes, though, that we've seen of old? Like, is it still not to do with your curve of your build into how quickly you're going to ramp up as the game goes on? Does that still have a warrant in SMITE, or is it just
Absolutely. It's still a huge deal.
situational the whole time?
It's still a huge deal, and he is behind, so I guess you could make the argument that he needs the cheaper option instead of Spear of Desolation, but you're kind of neutering your late game effectiveness. Yes, it feels worse right now, but you need to have that promise of if we get to level 20 and we get to 5 items or 4 items, then I'm going to be in a pretty good spot. And I just don't know that he will with this style of build.
emilZy might not be in a good spot now, but BigManTingz just got a little bit too over-eager with that ultimate there. The setup was nice from eUnited with the Oracle's vision and nobody around the Fury to check in on it, but it was just a little bit too premature. And you did mention that big thing in the mid lane is Zyrhoes isn't level 12 just yet, so no second relic available for him.
Yeah, it was a great time to fight for eUnited.
Yeah.
I think Tings was expecting Fear No Evil to come out from iceicebaby, and they were going to try and insta-kill emilZy. That would have been a lot of investment, though, to just kill a tank, and I don't even know if they would have guaranteed got it.
Well, both the Hunters invest in their dashes there as they take a trade with each other, and emilitoooooo with a bit of a lead in that lane for now, 15 to 14. But the Rage is fully online for Vote now, and he's working on those stacks next up. Crit is the name of the game, but is it worth going crit at that point? I guess it is with the fact that Benji's already picking the second relic.
It's the fact that you kind of want it now because you're going to need Executioner, and you want it before the team fights start pulling out, but you can't afford to delay it too long. It's great in the 1v1 boxing options, and on Jing Wei, you've got explosive bolts, and those up your crit chance anyways, so it makes it much more guaranteed. You want Rage to start, you want it to be finished before the team fights really start breaking out. Sure. Ideally, you can also get Executioner under your belt in time, but there's not that much physical power or physical protection from eUnited anyways, so you can go for this sort of option. Sure, Benji's got Gladiator Shield, but then it's just HP after the fact. Kalas has some protection from the Gauntlet of Thieves. That's mostly HP as well.
Approaching 15 minutes in, and the next Fury is available. Primal this time, and Primal, not this patch, but in a couple of patches away in the Pro League, you'll see a bit more of a change towards the Fury, where it'll help with jungle camps on defensive options as well, as in makes you a little bit tankier.
Yes, and that I think that will help a lot in those enhanced Fire Giant scenarios. It is very difficult for sure, there's no doubt about that, but I also think that a smaller change like that is exactly what the Doctor ordered That way the teams can continue to adjust.
Deathwalker getting aggressive on this right-hand side because he's got Adapting in behind. Benji going to use his ultimate and juke the opposite way. Did eat the ultimate from Adapting though, but it forces Adapting to use the blink. emilitoooooo trying to make the turnaround play, however. But as you mentioned, the Atlas of the Yellow River comes into play, giving Adapting the lack of a slow to get away.
Man, Deathwalker's pressure. I was saying that Benji's heading, doing better this time around, but maybe he's not. Deathwalker's really just been giving him the hand so far.
It just looks a little telegraph from Deathwalker for me, at least when I look at, the big picture over the spectator. I can always tell when Deathwalker's got someone around him because he gets aggressive very quickly. Left-hand side, though, Vote did take a tier 1. Stuck for the tier 2, and will take a life, oh, Willie! Minion? No archers left.
Yeah,
wow.
That's easy. Yeah, Tings takes a bad fight from that position. Zeus is really bad in situations like that where there's a bunch of minions that ate all the chain lightning bounces.
iceicebaby far forward in the mid lane, has to jump away, gets rooted, but no beads used. Callus jumps into the walls as well as emilZy with a nice little combination there. And with Knights all grouped up as 5, the rotation to the Primal Fury is available, and nobody can really look to defend this.
emilitoooooo is somewhat close, but he's not going to try. No sense in doing so. It feels like Pittsburgh Knights just went from 0 to 60 very quickly, and that's kind of been an adapting team staple, is going from a sleepy early game to an explosive mid game very, very quickly.
That's a good point. I mean, even the old days of energy is space and time used by Zyrhoes there. The reset from eUnited was there, but Pittsburgh Knights didn't want that. They wanted to take it for themselves. The fight after the fact may be a bit different here. emilZy forced to ult defensively. Deathwalker getting aggressive on Callus though. Callus needs some support and gets it from iceicebaby, but emilitoooooo turning up 2. But all it is for Deathwalker is time to walk away happy with the result.
Yeah, I mean, you get a couple ultimates there for eUnited, but overall the big bounty is that Pyromancer. And it's not a big bounty overall,
sure.
It's still fairly small, but it's still something that goes your way. And Pittsburgh Knights starting to pull the game down towards their favor. Zyrhoes had an opportunity to catch up now. BigManTingz is pretty far ahead. Sprint
pop there by Pittsburgh Knights. They're getting aggressive in the jungle. They're trying to catch BigManTingz. He was just trying to farm up some left-hand harpies. Instead, he gets hit by the Adapting ultimate out of Hebo, and Vote secures it with the basic attack to make it 4-3.
This is becoming a trend for BigManTingz, going for mid-harpies in unsafe situations. I can think of a couple times now in this season where he's had those moments where he just tries to solo down a mid-harpy and gets picked for it. It's got to be corrected in the long term.
Looks like a weird ultimate from iceicebaby, but that was really just about clearing the wave and trying to keep this tier 1 tower standing a little bit longer. Bad news bears, though, is that Pittsburgh Knights do not even care about needing minions. As soon as Iceice and Callus walk away, they will just backdoor that tier 1 tower. emilitoooooo, though, does at least get a tier 1 on the left-hand side because of that.
Good news for eUnited is that Emil's still in a very healthy position in this game. He just finished Odysseus Bow, which means he's ready to team fight and do plenty of damage at the same time. And they're going to need him because eUnited, I think, it feels a little bit counterintuitive at this point. You want to stay spread out, you want to catch up and farm. But I think it might be time to group for them because their team fight is so strong. The problem is they're mostly strong in the jungle. And normally in order to get teams to fight you in the jungle, they either have to have a big lead and are willing to take you where you're at your best, or you have to be far enough in the lead that you're dictating the pace of the game and they have to come to you. You're invading buffs consistently. You're pulling Pyromancer. You're pulling Gold Fury. Those sorts of moments are where jungle fight compositions really work well. It's these moments where it's like, if I'm on Pittsburgh Knights, maybe I just say, yeah, let them have the buff. We'll just take towers. There's enough gold still on the map, and we're still even enough that we would rather fight on our terms.
When I look at eUnited, though, and how this game's gone so far, like there's just this window of where the synergy's just not on point from eUnited, and Pittsburgh Knights are exploiting that. It feels like more often than not, where there's just a little lack of who's initiating, when's the initiation happening, and it's either a bit premature or a bit late from eUnited consistently, which is buying Pittsburgh Knights away into this game and into a lead again for Game 2.
I also think that iceicebaby struggled a little bit more than what he has against some other teams, and that's he's not played super poorly, especially this game by any stretch. Last game he had a rough one for sure. This game he's done pretty well, but still the impact just hasn't really been there, and he's been such a driving force for this team that when he isn't making a ton of plays, I think it's very noticeable.
You can see the level difference in the jungle at the moment. Adapting just a 2-level lead over iceicebaby. iceicebaby hasn't died yet so far, as you were saying. Like, he's made impacts where he can. There's a big grouping now from the Knights on the right-hand side here. Looks like they're just trying to whack away at this tower, take down this tier 1, get a bit more gold that's available on the map.
Yeah, I was asking for eUnited to group up, but it's actually going to be Pittsburgh Knights. But I don't mind this either. I mean, there's some big power spike items that were completed fairly recently. Pittsburgh Knights are in a pretty solid position here.
Yeah, it looks like this is the plan here. Knight's going to go for a tier 2. eUnited trying to take a tier 1 in mid, which is successful. But where do they go next? They're definitely losing the tier 2 on right-hand side for this. So all in all, they got a tier 1 tower and a bit of farm on the Chernobog. But that was it for losing 2 towers on the right-hand side.
Adapting team's always very, very good at grouping up at the right time. It's one of his great strengths.
We talk about United and the rotations. Well, that was a little bit late as emilitoooooo does come in. They're still looking to pick on Vote, but Vote uses the beads early, avoids the Fear No Evil, and after that fact will also use the Aegis. But Benji's there to try to go back in. Forces out the airstrike from Vote, as well as a bit of CC from emilZy. Defensively done. eUnited get a tier 1 tower after the fact.
Very smart by United, though. I mean, Pittsburgh Knights make a good grouping, but they force Deathwalker's teleport to the farthest lane and then use that global pressure from Chernobog.
BigManTingz still has his ultimate available here, probably one of the better secures available at the moment as they eUnited do start the Fire Giant. But with Pittsburgh Knights frontline showing up, eUnited don't like it anymore. And Callus detransforms. He's tanky enough to survive for now, but he forced Big Man's ultimate defensively. And that is definitely a win for the Knights around the Fire Giant.
That might be enough for them to pull here from this position. I mean, the big thing is that Vote has nothing defensive available. No relics, no ultimate.
Deathwalker, though, tanking up 4 members at the moment, trying to keep them all busy, keep them all distracted. But Callus, he's played with Deathwalker before. He knows something's going on. So he's trying to get in to see how low the Fire Giant is. But the news is, it's already done.
Pittsburgh Knights will get the kill as well. Deathwalker's able to ult away from Benji's Fatal Strike right on time. And now Benji's in some trouble. This is where Zeus is going to make some money. And emilZy nearly ends up falling to the damage, but instead he's going to take out iceicebaby.
Vote just dashed it on emilitoooooo, and I think that was a bit more than he bargained for. Sure, he had the Fire Giant, but there was 2 members waiting, and Vote just a little bit too aggressive for Pittsburgh Knights liking. United fans will be happy, because it makes it a bit trickier on Siegen. Gold Fury is available, however, though, so Knight should at least be able to get something else off the back of the Fire Giant.
That's actually a pretty big loss for Pittsburgh Knights to lose Vote, because he's the one you care most about having that Fire Giant buff. He's going to be the one knocking down your towers for you. So Vote's over-aggression, something that plagued him a lot in his early career, something that I think he's done a very good job of keeping away. He's really learned his lesson, I think, in the majority of cases. I think that's a rare overstep for Vote, which is something I could never, ever imagine myself saying in Season 3.
Oh, I was like, are you trying to be sarcastic? Because I swear that's all Vote ever used to do.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I was like, you were being sarcastic, because that is what he ever used to do, was just get overly aggressive. I think
recently he hasn't, though. That's why I'm saying I never would have imagined myself saying that's rare for him to go that deep now.
In my eyes, it must have been I feel like he felt the team was going to go in there, because he had no beads or Aegis even. He's like, yeah, let's go.
He may have felt that way, yes.
But I'm like, I clearly didn't get the communication from his team, or they didn't understand him. That is definitely an issue on that team.
Yes.
And it has been for a while with most teams.
Can you understand him? I don't know if it's just me.
I try.
I'm usually okay.
No, to be fair, I can understand Vote. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Scottish Twitter is very funny. Have you gone to like that subreddit or anything like that? It's like a whole thing.
I can imagine.
They tweet in the same like I'm
the way
sure
they
it's like it's mostly a meme, I'm sure. I'm sure not everyone tweets that way in Scotland.
Oh, they do.
They write that way or type that way?
Yeah. Standard.
That's not English.
Space and time used by Pittsburgh Knights, though, who are trying to punish United for going for that tier 2 tower on the left-hand side. Already, though, Chernobog has got away from the fray, and iceicebaby, the last one to leave, uses his blink to get there. Deathwalker, though, in the jungle is still trying to keep some of them in combat and maybe find a late pick here. But it was a nice little win for United on the left-hand side, to be fair.
Yeah, some gold that they desperately needed, but Pittsburgh Knights aren't going to let off the gas now. This is where you push in, especially knowing that Adapting's beads are about to come back up. emilitoooooo now has no ultimate. iceicebaby has no blink. That means their initiation is much harder.
And now with emilZy tanking up the front line here, they've got the minions coming in as the tier 2 tower under threat. Round the back, though, in comes Benji and iceicebaby, and there's a combo for the first time this game from eUnited. Fear No Evil and the ultimate out of Zeus, but look how healthy Pittsburgh Knights still are.
I mean, I criticize the Divine Ruin for Zyrhoes, but BigManTingz needs one pretty desperately. I mean, the amount of healing that emilZy is going to be able to get value out of is a little bit too much. This build for Tingz is a lot of items that I think can work well, but I just don't know if that's exactly what it needed here. I think that Spear of the Magus needs to be a Divine Ruin in that spot. And then as soon as he finishes that Spear, they basically start falling behind at that point or a little bit after he started building the Shaman's Ring. And usually it's, well, now I really wish I had Obsidian Shard so that I can actually kill Deathwalker, who's again looking basically undefeatable.
iceicebaby just trying to get a couple more levels if he can to that level 20 for those bonus stats and abilities too. Meanwhile, BigManTingz in the mid lane only still level 18 as well as Benji will try and frontline for his team at the Phoenix defense. Phoenix, however, though, already below half. Zero's going to use the pull. Was that space and time, actually? I think he fired, but he didn't find a home. Fear No Evil hits 4 members, though, and Vote a little bit too far forward again. He's forced to Aegis and beats away. Benji's still on the chase, but that's body blocked out by emilZy. Benji will still get the kill, however.
Now they're going to need some more damage, and BigManTingz might be able to provide just that. Adapting is lurking, but emilitoooo now knows where he is because of that ultimate. Zyrhoes gets chased down.
And now he's on to Deathwalker too. Pittsburgh Knights have bitten off a bit more than they can chew. BigManTingz going to use the ultimate onto Deathwalker, and they're going to be able to pick him up eventually here. It's just going to be a long old process with how tanky Deathwalker's Osiris will be. But more importantly, eUnited keep their Phoenix alive.
Man, Vote has just gotten poked out consistently a lot so far in these engagements, and it's really started to hurt him quite a bit. He ends up falling to the damage from BigManTingz and Benji's chase. Benji has a, what, 4-man shield of Achilles there that he ends up hitting. He was able to surge forward very nicely.
I think the hard thing for Vote at this game, honestly, is the fact that he's the primary killer of the Phoenix's objectives. With a Hebo and a Janus, neither of those want to really step up. Now eUnited on the offensive, though. They're looking for a Phoenix of their own. They're going to get the ultimate out of adapting defensively. And iceicebaby will secure the kill on top with a Fear No Evil. The minion wave turning up means this Phoenix should fall here. eUnited now back in the driving seat.
Vote needs to be careful. No relics for him still, though he does have that airstrike and wants to try and maybe get at least one more tank as emilZy is right on time. Here comes Zyrhoes.
Space and time will hit onto Benji, and everybody else is still on the run. Zyrhoes looking for the unstable vortex onto emilitoooo. Not a whole lot of damage to chunk him, though. emilitoooo needs a bit of help, but it will peel for himself. Still, eUnited grouped up looking for a turnaround play on emilZy. They'll find it, you know, just towards the tail end. But Zyrhoes and Volt at full health could continue the chase.
And Deathwalker teleported behind them, but he goes the wrong way. He was chasing iceicebaby, and look at all these low health targets on the left-hand side. Ice might end up falling here still, but feels like this might not be enough.
Ice jumps over the wall, so does Deathwalker. Play for now, and Zyrhoes will pick up iceicebaby. But in my opinion, Ryan, the damage was really done there. eUnited taking a Phoenix.
Yeah.
The Fire Giant has respawned, though, so there's a window where FG could be looked at by Pittsburgh Knights, but without Terra, it's going to be tricky.
It will be tricky, and that's the best side of Phoenix to get if you're eUnited, because it makes it that much harder for the Pittsburgh Knights to be in force on the right-hand side on that enhanced Fire Giant. A great fight from eUnited. Again, iceicebaby that time is able to find a beautiful Fear No Evil, but the poke damage from Tings and emilitoooo has been really, really strong, and a lot of it has been poke damage from that Odysseus bow that ML has bought. Just, I mean, this is the reason I think to go the pen build, is that Odysseus bow gets better and better with these higher power items without crit chance. You just, I mean, you do so much damage with those Odysseus bow procs.
It's been around for a while, the Odysseus bow. It just wasn't really, well, top tier is the best way, but the only times I ever really saw it was the old energy roster, funny enough, when it was late game and they'd all finish builds and we're like, okay, let's get Noddy bow for extra damage at the Phoenix lands.
I think it's been good for a while.
Pyromancer started up by Pittsburgh Knights, taken down 2. eUnited won't contest. No real surprise to Pyromancer after all. And yeah, sure, it keeps Pittsburgh Knights in control of the gold lead for now, which is 6,000 gold. And that gold is still important.
It is, because we haven't gotten to the elixirs of speed yet. Just now, a lot of members of Pittsburgh Knights are getting their 6th items. Still, basically everybody needs theirs on eUnited. Benji's got his, and emilitooo's got his, but everyone else still waiting for those finishing touches on the build.
Just keep an eye on the relic situation. We're just waiting on pretty much every relic is available now. But that's generally when you see the fights begin, is when everyone feels comfortable with the relics, or a team realizes another team doesn't have beads or Aegis available. Primal Fury is available on the left-hand side, however, eUnited grouping up as a 3-man right about now. Pittsburgh Knights not really been paying much attention to this here at the 30-minute mark. So this is a window that actually helps out quite a bit for eUnited when it comes to jungle control.
Yes, definitely. I mean, getting that extra 7% on the objective is huge. Doesn't have the 7% defense yet, as we mentioned earlier. That's going to be coming in the next update, but certainly very, very impactful still. Zeus very good at burning of these objectives, now even better.
If you just tune in, eUnited were in control for the whole game. They had the early game into their bank for how it began, but Pittsburgh Knights with a couple of plays took that away from eUnited. However, overextended a Phoenix on the left-hand side, and now eUnited find themselves with a Phoenix down on Pittsburgh Knights. And now they're just trying to choose what they want to do next, and I think that's what I'm seeing from eUnited. They don't know what they want to do.
I feel like Pittsburgh Knights is pretty content to just wait until this Phoenix respawns and then start taking even fights.
That makes sense.
Around the Enhanced Fire Giant. And eUnited probably is saying, well, if we can get to the late game and get 6 items, then it doesn't matter if they don't have their Phoenix down. I don't know. It's a tough decision. I think that you could make a pretty convincing argument to me either way, whether eUnited should be going for the Enhanced Fire Giant at this point while Phoenix is down, or waiting until they're all caught up.
Well, the amount of fire minions pushed down on the left-hand side now is going to be a bit tricky for it to take the Phoenix back with the minion wave spawning in. Janus has done good work then. It's one of the benefits of a Janus. He can be across the other side of the map, still make an impact. Same can be said for Chernobog, which emilitoooooo, surprisingly enough, he hasn't died with some of these ultimates across the map where I'm like, wow, these are pretty aggressive against some dangerous opposition.
Easy to forget, Living Nightmare gives you movement speed, damage mitigation.
I forget the mitigation all
They're
the
all
time. I don't know why I always forget the mitigation.
It's a good ability. It's a good card. You should probably pick him more.
I can feel that. I think people get thrown off by being left-handed.
Well, for me, it's the fact that he does left and right.
That's when
I
he
have
pops
a lot of trouble
with the stim. Yeah, he pops his
No, he
left.
does that all the time.
I thought it was only... Oh.
No, it's all the time that he does it, and then he just does it faster whenever you get it. See, he's left.
So he's ambidextrous, and Moose and Cobb's left-handed, everybody else is right-handed.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you'd think that I'd be better with like AMC and Chernobog, because I'm
Yeah, because you're left-handed anyway, right?
But yeah, I don't know.
No,
For me,
you're
it's like the alternating messes with my brain, and I'm much worse at hitting Chernobog autos than regular autos, which is already not particularly impressive, so it's not a good
I mean, that's
sign
why you
for
play mages, right? So you don't
That's
have to
right.
land basic attacks, yeah?
That's right. Give me the big AoEs.
Makes a lot of sense.
Circles,
9
please.
to 7. 32 minutes in. It's a 5k lead, but it's eUnited getting aggressive again. They're looking for a pick before they start up the Fire Giant. Or more importantly, they're giving time for emilitoooooo to push out the left-hand side. Now, emilitoooooo will meet Zyrhoes on that left. As we keep an eye on the action on the right-hand side, just make sure you keep an eye on the health bars of those two in the left, because action could begin at any moment.
This is where BigManTingz wants to be, in these jungle engagements where you have to respect him and where the rest of eUnited is, especially with this much ward coverage. He has all the knowledge you could ever ask for on where everyone is on Pittsburgh Knights. And so he can just toss out those shields around the corner, throw a chain lightning on it. It may not even poke out the person that he's aiming for, but instead if he pokes out Zyrhoes, Vote, then it starts off a great fight for him.
Late on that left did have a ward down there, but emilZy's been caught in a whole world of hurt. There's no chance to use a relic or even his ultimate defensively. emilZy picked off, and as soon as that happens, emilitoooooo says go! He's looking for the pick on Zyrhoes.
Yeah, no chance he's able to chase down Zyrhoes, though, as Adapting is making his way over to the left-hand side. He's been hovering this left jungle for a while.
Deathwalker comes in to defend the Enhanced Fire Giant, though. It wasn't the greatest idea. Space and time fired. That could hit Callus. Only a third of his health. I say a third, but it was still a tank. Zyrhoes, however, now joins the fray. emilitoooooo gets picked by Adapting in the jungle, who had been waiting there since emilitoooooo turned up in the left-hand side.
Old teammates going at it, and it's Adapting who ends up getting the better end. Callus has to use the sprint because of those consistent slows coming from Deathwalker, but Vote's still here. He's looking for Tings.
And he did get a good crowd into Tings too. Airstrike used, didn't really find a target. It was after onto Callus, but Callus turns around and finds the hammer. That'll get the beads out of Vote as iceicebaby tried to wrap around the back, but he took more damage than he bargained for. Looking to wrap around and cause problems. The tether is going to force the beads out now too. Pittsburgh Knight push eUnited back to their Phoenix line.
Now that fight seems like it should go all eUnited's way, right? Because they get the pick onto emilZy without emilZy pressing a button. But they invested 3 big ultimates. I mean, they 4 actually, because emilitoooooo used his as well. They used 4 ultimates to kill emilZy, and so the Pittsburgh Knights know that they can walk in and take this fight still without threat with some of those big ults.
Benji just teleported in to try and defend the Enhanced Fire Giant. He's got a small window of opportunity, but he won't find it here. The gap is closed and the chase is on. Benji uses ult to get away. Zyrhoes with a pull through the wall does huge damage, and Vote will get credit for the kill, the pill, and then back go Pittsburgh Knights to the safety of their own half of the map.
I was wondering why that did so much damage to Benji. Look at his build. Crusher on Chile, Blackthorn Hammer, Brawler's Beatstick.
No magical defense.
None.
I mean, Ancile?
Against Habwa and Janus? Look, the chin size last game were odd, but you know, maybe they were exchanging iceicebaby as the frontliner with his low nose and letting Benji be the jungler.
And the reason you got an issue with the Ancilla there is because, well, both Zyrhoes and Adapting are sort of long-range poke mages or burst mages. So one ability, and that's pretty much what they may be using.
Right.
So it's not going to proc effectively and give you enough magical defense, right?
It's not too bad against Hopwa because it stops the you know, knock up straight into the water hands or the ultimate, and that can be annoying. But my biggest problem isn't with the passive, it's with the number of magical protections it has. It's just not a lot, and he needs a lot. I mean, he needs a lot in order to survive this onslaught of magical defense or magical damage, and he just didn't build it.
And that feels like Pittsburgh Knight's composition here. He's just damage heavy is what we're noticing. And with Deathwalker just holding down the W key whenever possible and keeping eUnited on the run, it's allowing these windows for the Knights to choose when they want to use the abilities from the rest of their teammates. Monkey Toss out from iceicebaby there. That'll slow down Knights for a moment or two. Once again, though, one thing that I've noticed is Knights aren't trying to pressure any of a lane here. They're 5-man groups on the left, but it is with an enhanced fire giant.
The reason that they're grouped is because Hopwa not nearly as good at getting these phoenixes with a small window as a traditional assassin. Can't do it. So it is a weakness of having that mage in the jungle.
Well, from emilZy will at least get the Ancilla proc out of Benji early, so that's not going to be available the passive for a few more seconds now. The next attempt, minion wave is a bit away about the tier 2 area momentarily. And I love these polls that you'll see the Janus is putting down. It's like, do we go through it? And who's going to be the one that goes through it?
It's been Deathwalker every time as Zyrhoes tries to give him some assistance, but was a bit off the mark. Bit unstable vortex. Deathwalker now looping around the backside, but Vote going to get poked out pretty consistently. This is what Zeus is good at. Really, really hard to break his defense.
It's all a battle of wills between the two right now. As iceicebaby knocked up for a second there. Zyrhoes puts the portal down to give Deathwalker a window if he needs it. Or for emilZy to sneakily jump through too. And emilZy will pop his ultimate early on. Callus did get hit by that though, but where is the Phoenix damage?
Just don't have it. I mean, Vote can't step up. He has the threat of that Zeus. Now going to try and get some extra shots in, but it's only 1 or 2 before Deathwalker has to back it up.
Knight's still trying to time this to perfection where they can. The Fire Giant is regenerating them slowly, but fear no evil out from iceicebaby. Got some very good damage off onto Vote to force him back. Deathwalker, meanwhile, frontlines for as long as he can. The Zeus ultimate to dissuade the aggression from Adapting, but Adapting takes out 2!
Adapting's like, guys, can we please just kill them here? Watch me do it. And basically does it all by himself. I mean, that was good poke damage from the rest of his squad, but that was basically all him that did the actual bulk of the damage, and emilitoooooo got absolutely one-tapped, had an ultimate, relics, everything.
For me,
never got him.
Definitely was Deathwalker grouping up 4 members onto him to allow Adapting to do all that. Now Deathwalker back at it again, TP's into the fray, forces BigManTingz away from the fight, which is giving the window for Knights to get the Phoenix.
That's the whole argument to why you don't need offensive items on warriors, right? Where Deathwalker will just eventually hit you down enough that you don't need actual offense, you just need defense.
His ultimate use onto BigManTingz. BigManTingz forced to run away yet again. Vote is getting low, meanwhile, at the middle Phoenix, and he's forced to airstrike defensively thanks to the work out of Benji and Callus there. BigManTingz still alive, though, as Deathwalker was forced back. But I think that's just the game plan here, is Deathwalker takes Zeus out of the fray if possible, and that's where a lot of the majority of defense and damage is coming from in these engagements.
Absolutely. It's really been Deathwalker doing a lot to gain the attention of eUnited. That was a great call by you, that he was the one who kind of distracted everybody from adapting on that left side Phoenix, and the damage for Benji there ends up being pretty impactful. I will admit that without it, maybe Vote doesn't have to respect him quite as much, can stand on the Phoenix a little bit longer and end up getting it. So that damage-oriented build for Benji helps out at least that regard.
You know you're definitely winning, though, when you see your Zeus investing in defense items on the enemy team. He's gone for the Magi's Cloak now, which is something that I can understand in certain situations against CC chains, but it's not a very CC-heavy composition the Knights have ran here against him. But he's getting focused consistently, which makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But he's struggling.
It feels really bad to have to beads a tether from Osiris because you have no way to get away from it. It stops him there. That's what happened on the left side, Phoenix. You save your beads in that instance. You don't have the threat of getting one shot like emilitoooooo just did, where he gets knocked up straight into the damage from Hopwa. It's not a bad option, and BigManTingz is still clearly doing enough damage. I don't know how much. The Soul Reaver is just the please get off me Osiris option, and it works pretty well. I mean, look at the damage he just did to him.
emilitooooo's on the left-hand side now, dealing with fire minion waves pouring down that lane at the moment. But Pittsburgh Knights are dancing around the Fire Giant again. It's an enhanced one once more time as we're approaching 40 minutes. But this time eUnited are here to defend, and last time Knights did a good job of baiting in eUnited. Maybe this is the play, though. They were trying to use this portal to get around the back of eUnited. It's been forced, though, and they're actually going to force BigManTingz to keep running.
Deathwalker now has to deal with that
stunned.
Beautiful portal in from Zyrhoes, and BigManTingz erased his ultimate, doing actually a decent amount as Vote had to dash through it, but still eUnited on the back foot.
All the while, though, the Phoenix on the left-hand side is going down. emilitoooooo is going to at least take that to even up the lane. Fire Giant is still alive. So sure, Knights have found 1 kill so far, Ryan, but it's not hurt eUnited too much just yet.
No, I mean, this is still okay. Another reason why I
Is
like
he going for
Janus
the win
here.
He's not going to go for the win, is he?
He's going to force someone to back.
Someone has to back too. Hang on, iceicebaby's going too.
They might be able to sneak this. I mean,
No, they're forcing backs. They're
EmilZy
forcing backs out of Pittsburgh Knights.
And that might... Enhanced Fire Giant will go down still, so Pittsburgh Knights still get that, but emilitoooooo forces the back, and look at this. They're not going to let anybody else back. They're going to try and end.
Hammer hits Deathwalker.
Okay, they couldn't
Deathwalker
get
will
it.
get away, but as soon as Zyrhoes shows up, emilitoooooo and iceicebaby have just wasted their time on the left-hand side now. Zyrhoes is actually going to kill
Sniped
emilitoooooo
him.
with space and time! And I don't think emilitoooooo will be happy about that one at all. Neither will Callus now, as he was trying to dance around the Fire Giant. He falls. Benji, though, credit where it's due, does at least bring down the Hebo, but Vote will end his life soon after, and this game is turning into tatters for eUnited here.
Just another snipe and another death where emilitoooooo doesn't use his relics and ends up getting punished pretty heavily for it. I mean, I think his last 2 deaths he hasn't used a relic.
Sometimes, though, you can't expect a space and time, you know? You gotta try
No.
and eyes in the back of your head is not always easy.
No, it isn't. I'm definitely not. I'm not saying that it's easy to do, but those are the plays you have to be ready for, I suppose.
Vote and Deathwalker were trying to take down this right side, but he did at least get BigManTingz to use his ultimate there on that right-hand Phoenix, but all the while Zyrhoes was pressuring the mid lane, and with Vote and Deathwalker now turning up, that'll be the 2nd Phoenix of the game taken down for the Knights. The left-hand side is about to respawn as iceicebaby's not enjoying having fun with emilZy. And I'll tell you who's not having fun right now is BigManTingz as Deathwalker is on him once more. More importantly, he's on the Titan as well.
You're going to need some extra damage, though. Vote does get Tings right before that detonate goes off, and that'll do it. Pittsburgh Knights take game 2 as well. Again, 42 minutes. It felt pretty convincing to me, though, Hindu. I mean, eUnited has the moment where they force them off the left side Phoenix.
Yep.
And, maybe they can do it. But I don't know if you feel the same way, but I've never felt like Pittsburgh Knights are really on the ropes at all.
No, I've not really felt too worried about that. I'm worried about eUnited's communication, which is really showing so far.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've made a roster change, but I'm worried about leadership. That's what it's really showing to me, is nobody's really taking this team by the scruff of the neck and going, this is how we're playing.
I mean, it takes some time.
It
right?
does, it does.
I think the Pittsburgh Knights were suffering from a lot of those things as well. It seems like some of that has been cleaned up. I think the communication between Deathwalker and the rest of the team, whoever's job it is to leash him and pull him back on his backline dives, has been he's been listening to that very well. He's been paying attention to when he can keep going and when he has to back it up. Deathwalker's solo lane play so far has been absolutely phenomenal. I think been the big difference maker.
Do we take him off Osiris? Is that actually a thing we may be looking at here? Is maybe a ban away or a pick away?
Yeah, I mean, it's forcing Benji into some awkward positions. I mean, Benji's builds this set have been a little bit strange, to say the least, but it also, I mean, he's been falling behind in the mid game. It seems like they kind of leave Deathwalker alone in lane. They'll try and invade Benji's blue to get him ahead, and then 15, 16 minutes comes around, and then Adapting starts showing up, start ganking because they have enough damage at that point to take Benji out. So maybe you do take him off the Osiris. He's played great on it so far.
2 games down, 2 wins to the Knights. Can eUnited come back into it? That's what I proposed to Tom and Taco on the desk.
Whoa, 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 whoa. The Hindu man's proposing. I don't know about all that. It's a little soon. Pushing it.
I mean, seems as though you have some mixed feelings on that one.
We'll talk about it later. 2 games we'll talk about right now, though. Game number 1 goes to Pittsburgh Knights. Game number 2 goes to Pittsburgh Knights as well. And, you heard the casters right there at the end. It seems like they just kind of leave Deathwalker alone. Well, that's a good idea for Pittsburgh, because that Osiris has been working.
This Osiris has been putting in too much work, in fact, and I think that now that you're in this elimination round for eUnited, this is kind of the circumstance where I think Pittsburgh Knights definitely have the strong arm over eUnited right now, because I don't think that there's a possibility for eUnited to be able to allow this Osiris through a third game in a row. Deathwalker has just been way too controlling in the back line.
I got to agree there, Taco. I think that the strong stuff out of Pittsburgh Knights has been really on that right side of the map. Vote's doing work, the mid lane's doing work. Sure, Zyrhoes and it's funny, Zyrhoes has contributed both last game, the game number 1. Vote's been doing his job as well, but I really think it's all because of what Deathwalker and the jungle have been able to provide.
I think that the Janus pick switch up was just so bizarre, and it really threw eUnited for a loop, because they'd already had the Batz locked in, but we didn't really see too many opportunities for that Fear No Evil to really control or limit Pittsburgh Knights in their initiation. Deathwalker was almost always able to get or work his way into the back line, whether by force or just because he just happened to get the flank opportunity off. And I think that when iceicebaby would look to respond, it was almost always a Fear No Evil defensively. There was a brief stint of time where we saw eUnited starting to have a little bit of leverage over Pittsburgh Knights, and they were able to strip away the left Phoenix. But emilitoooooo, when he went off on his own adventure to try and chase down Zyrhoes, I think that he just spent too much time away from his team, and then to not have the map vision or awareness, because you don't have vision, so how could you be aware that adapting is just hugging a corner of a wall to kind of ambush? I think that one pick alone that gave Pittsburgh Knights the opening to look for that enhanced fire giant just restricted eUnited as far as how much initiation they could actually provide, and so this all-in build from Benji wasn't able to maintain its success.
I was going to touch on that as well. Benji with the Crusher, the Hydras, not a very tanky build, and not a lot of the magical protections. The Achilles, the only item there, and adapting on the Hebo in the jungle. BigManTingz is going so far as building a Void Stone, and Benji kind of just built his own Void Stone with no real dedicated magical protection. I thought that was a little bit rough.
Well, anybody who got in trouble, Zyrhoes could just bail out. He had great portals all throughout this match, whether it was a portal to put adapting into position to look for the water spout into the crushing wave, or just to try and combine through space and time with that crushing wave for damage outright. I mean, I think I saw maybe 1-2 times tops that emilitoooooo was effectively able to use his relics. His relics stayed off cooldown for a good solid 10 to 15 minute period, I want to say.
Might just be warm-up, right? I mean, this is the first Pro League match he's played in about half a year, so it's going to be an interesting time getting back into the swing of things. Sure, he's a great player, but it's sort of like riding on a bike, but you gotta get warmed up a little bit. That was a rough one. Whatever, guys. It's
riding on
early.
a bike, but your first exhibit is the Tour de France or something.
Sure. Thanks, Taco. Help me out here in the clutch. When it comes down to it, I think that we need to see a little bit more teamwork out of eUnited, and that composition was a little bit rough as well. Fafnir is your only initiation, and Fafnir's initiation is kind of like jump in, stun, and cross your fingers, you don't die. And Batz has to supplement that. And you mentioned that the Batz was having his ultimate forced out defensively. You're not really getting what you signed up for with that comp, plus the fact that Benji wasn't tanky enough. I think everything kind of combined to bring the loss here for eUnited. So a rough one as they face elimination here.